Episode 2 of King the Land begins with Sarang's embarrassing moment as she faces Gu-won through the transparent wall. The two are flustered by this accident and try to control the situation, with one trying to get her hands on the remote while the other faces the other side. Since she was holding on to the door, she falls into his arms while an unimpressed Gu-won waits for her to step back. She tries to run out, but he recognizes her as the gym attendant who messed with him and subsequently asks for an apology. She, of course, remembers it as him making an advance on her and is disgusted. He is confused, but she refuses to elaborate. He's annoyed by her fake smile while she finds him audacious for a guest. Sarang walks away from him after apologizing for the present day's events, refusing to say anything about all those years ago. Adding on to this is her smile, which becomes an irritation for Gu-won, who warns her to never show up in front of him again. Gu-won's sister is unimpressed by his attention to detail and reminds him that she expects him to leave soon enough. But Gu-won tells her he has no plans of leaving or stealing her spotlight. He just wants to work at the hotel. Meanwhile, Sumi runs into Sang-sik outside. She flexes that she was asked to speak at one's inaugural ceremony, and he asks her out for dinner afterwards. She shouts out her agreement and runs off while Sang-sik is impressed with his charms. The inauguration soon begins and Gu-won's entrance shocks Sarang as well as Sumi, both for different reasons. Sarang is shocked to find the man she labeled a pervert become her boss, while Sumi is surprised to find that she has been approaching the wrong person. During his inauguration ceremony, Gu-won falters in front of his staff because it looks like he has a fear of smiling people. A kind of trauma from childhood, so he can't stand people smiling. He introduces himself and cuts the ceremony short. Sarang is called to hand the bouquet and she tries to hide behind it. He is puzzled till he sees who is hiding behind the bouquet. Sarang is then introduced to him as the best employee of the hotel, making it hard for them to avoid each other, considering he's the head manager from now on. She finally hears him out for once, and finally understands the man she deemed a pervert due to his t-shirt was innocent. Since one hates fake smiles, he tells Sarang not to smile around him, even though it's company policy to be bright and cheery all the time. This actually gives Sarang a break because she's tired of having to be inauthentic around him. She's been smiling through gritted teeth, and now she doesn't have to. Trouble follows all of the roommates as Pyonghwa too has a rough day. She has to put up a heavy suitcase of a rude passenger, but her coworker Ro-woon helps her out. She then takes responsibility as a rookie accidentally throws a passenger's jacket in the trash. She gets it cleaned but is unable to reach the passenger on time before Ro-woon steps in and helps her. At the hotel, Sang-sik arrives to accompany Sumi to dinner. However, she turns him down for pretending to be Gu-won. He says he never pretended and that since she is a snob, he should stay away in case it rubs off on him. As they bicker, he spots Sarang and declares that she should be the one to go to the inaugural ceremony dinner to represent the staff. Sarang is fascinated by the sophisticated atmosphere surrounding the party, and her outgoing personality brings her a brief spotlight moment. Pleased by her, Gu-eul-hun rewards her with the most expensive part of the tuna that is being served at the party. Meanwhile, the competition between Gu-won and Warrant continues even when the former makes it clear that he is not interested. On the bus home, Sarang calls her grandmother to share the tuna with. She then calls her boyfriend, Yunom, only to learn he is in Busan to watch a match. She reminds him that they had planned a romantic date to Namsan Bridge where couples leave locks to symbolize their eternal love, and he tells her to postpone it. To make things worse, the bus breaks and the tuna head falls out of the box. A squeamish Sarang takes it home to an equally squeamish Pyonghwa. Deol comes to their rescue and the girls are shocked when they learn the price of the tuna. Back at King Hotel, the chairman asks Gu-won to return home. However, with Warren's warning that comes right after, Gu-won decides to not return. Elsewhere, Sarang reminisces about the time she spent with her mother at the hotel and prepares for another day. At home, we see a glimpse of Sarang's past and can assume her mother has passed away. She had a close relationship with her mother, and as a kid, she told her she would become a hotelier. Maybe that's why she's so sincere about doing the job. As for Deol, she is promoted to manager. She abolishes the hazing ritual of juniors getting their lunch. She even convinces an insecure customer to make a purchase followed by Pyonghwa visiting her. At the hotel, Sarang gets mistreated by an influencer customer who wants a room upgrade in exchange for posting some messages about the hotel. Sarang tells her that is against the rules, but she keeps a smiling face on. Gu-won walks by at the same time, telling Sarang that she should just get rid of such rude customers rather than explaining things properly to her. Her manager, who is just around the corner, hadn't even batted an eye when the customer started asking for her, but when Gu-won calls her out, she rushes there. Gu-won makes sure she knows that she needs to take care of her staff and call security in the case of such customers. The circumstances keep putting Sarang and Gu-won in the same room, no matter how much they don't want it. He calls Sarang to his office to chastise her and she claps back that it is men like him who made the rule that the staff needs to be polite in all situations. He then changes the topic as he tells her not to be annoying during their interview by asking silly questions like his favorite color. She is shocked to learn that Sang-sik has chosen her for the PR move to have Gu-won interviewed on live TV. At one point, Sang-sik starts talking casually to her and she starts doing the same to him, which amuses Gu-won. As for the Namsan date, it is nothing like Sarang imagined as Yunam walks ahead of her while she struggles on the stairs. He doesn't remember when they planned the date and within a few minutes of reaching, he says they need to leave for his reunion. He even ends up throwing the lock instead of hanging it. Instead, he hangs the key which falls as they leave. At the reunion, she is uncomfortable as she sits alone while he drinks with the girls. While he promised they wouldn't stay for long, that is not the case. The girls tease Sarang for talking formally and are shocked that a womanizer like Yunam could stay with her for a year. She walks out and he goes after her, promising to say farewell before he walks her home. The girls convince him to stay for one drinking game and she leaves alone. Elsewhere, Gu-won fails to find any information related to Han Miso, which leaves him dejected. The two downcast people share a silent, tearful moment together while unaware of each other's presence. The next day, they are supposed to fly to Jeju Island and seeing Sarang with her hair open and in a pretty outfit, Gu-won is stunned. We know that he is already falling in love. He cannot look away from her as she walks towards him, a vision in white. With Sang-sik getting friendly with her, one is annoyed and tells him to stop fooling around and even gets a little possessive of her. He pushes his suitcase towards Sarang, but she dodges it and it hits a sitting passenger in the head. Sarang and Sang-sik run off, leaving Gu-won on his own. He pays the man who starts hitting him for his impudence before he realizes that the check is for $1 million. He is suddenly super polite while a confused Gu-won walks off. On reaching Jeju, as revenge, one drives off in his convertible while Sarang and Sang-sik make do with a cab full of suitcases. A lot is at stake here and even the King Group stocks will be affected, as Gu's father informs him. When they finally reach the hotel where the interview is to take place, Sarang is prepared with her list of questions. But those questions are changed right before they start shooting, on the orders of Warren. The timing was deliberate, to not give space for either Sarang or Gu-won to review the questions or edit them. At the end of episode 2 of King the Land, Sarang is awestruck at Gu-won walking towards her, the same way he had been when he saw her at the airport.